What is going on, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the ABJ Podcast with Tony CHINI. What's going on, everybody? That's going to be a little joke when we go back up. He sent me that promo photo. I was like, holy crap. You look just like Anthony Green in this photo, but we'll get into that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again for another amazing episode here of the ABJ Podcast, interviewing someone that's long overdue. We've been chatting for quite some time on the independent scene, seeing each other at shows. I very much like this gentleman. There's a trend. I know I say that a lot with my guests, but I try to be very particular about who I have on this platform because I'm very protective of who I give conversations to. It happens sometimes where I let people on because I'm looking for a guest for a day and just want to make some content. But for the most part, I'm very, very, very particular about who comes on these airwaves. And this is one that I long overdue. Before we get into any of that, please check the links below to support myself as well as my guests. I'll have their links below that'll take you to merch pages, Instagrams. Their Instagrams usually have a link tree that you can go into or whatever it may be to go and support them. Follow them. Take a screenshot of this podcast and put it out on social media and say, hey, loved it, hated it. Here's a question that I'd like to hear the answer to, or hey, this answer really inspired me to go do this or that. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you thought of it. I know we interview a lot of pro wrestlers, but this is more of a personal vlog of someone chasing their dreams and less about maybe the industry, or maybe you'll learn something about the industry you didn't know about going into it. Before we get into anything, also, Rudy Entertainment above my head, the place where you can get all your custom championship belt needs, like me, the Intercontinental YouTube champion, the work rate champion, the hardest working guy on this scene, trying to do it all, and then the High Tension Wrestling Network, where you can see some matches with Tony CHINI on me on commentary. He fought a homeless guy. It was crazy. Outback Steakhouse people got involved. It was a whole thing. Go check that out on the HTW Network. They're really close to their monetization goals of hitting their watch hours so they can make a little bit of a profit on YouTube. So go and support them as well. That's pretty much going to do all of the housekeeping aspect, merch, t-shirts. That's all available on the pages as well. Check out that TeePublic for all the logos. Teespring for your special limited run t-shirts are merchandise. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, if you're listening to this on the audio platform, 5-star review goes a long way. And if you're watching on YouTube, we're on the quest for 2025 to hit 10,000 subscribers. So let's keep hitting that subscribe button, share this out. Word of mouth is how we're going to grow, because I'm not paying the algorithms to do it for me. So all right, let's bring in the guest today. We're going to be two-time Tony on the screen. Tony, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on, man? How you doing? Thanks for
I'm doing great. I'm very, very excited for this conversation. My first question from a fellow Tony, have you always been Tony? Have you ever rocked the Anthony name? Like, where do you lie with this?
Well, at my mother's house, I'm always Anthony.
Yeah.
But I was Anthony until like 5th grade. My dad was always Tony. So I guess I just decided in 5th grade I wanted to go with Tony, and I don't know, just try it out, and then it just kind of stuck, and it was always that since like 5th grade. Yeah, I just liked it. I always like to tell people it's less letters to spell with, and
yeah.
You
know my Irish grandfather told me, because I have Irish side and Italian side. My Irish grandfather go, you dumb insert a stereotypical Italian name here, and he would say, you dummies literally just slapped to New York on these people and sent them across the ocean, and they thought it was an actual name.
Yeah. That's a good.
Growing up, I was called Anthony all through school, and I would raise my hand. I'm like, excuse me, insert teacher. That's my fake name. I don't like that name. I don't use it. And then as I get older, it was like I went by my blast name a lot, and then Tony was here and there. But then if on social media, I would put Anthony. So if people are like, hey, Anthony, I'm like, okay, I like we're not at that level yet. But if you're saying Tony or Blackwell or ABJ, there's different ways of people responding to me based on where they've seen my name, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love it.
I get it the same way. I mean, like, there's certain people, it's funny, like with Facebook, like there's people that like you basically only know them through Facebook. Yeah. And on Facebook, my name is Anthony. Yeah. So I'll know who kind of like I've never met before for real, like, because
totally
Anthony, great to meet you. You know what I mean? It's like no. It's Tony.
Yeah. Some people be like, to go up to my partner or my ex or a really close friend, be like, yo, how do you know Anthony? And they're like, who the fuck's Anthony? Like, I don't know what Anthony is. Like, who's that guy? Yeah, awesome. That's a cool thing. I never really had that conversation with another fellow Tony before. So let's get into it. Tell people who you are and what do you do?
Well, I'm Tony CHINI. I like to think that I'm a professional wrestler. I loved wrestling since I was 7 years old. So that's 2004. I started literally watching in January of 2004. I could remember the first episode of SmackDown was the main event was John Cena versus Rhino. John Cena, if he won, got to wash Paul Heyman's mouth out with soap. And it was just such a fun episode, and just it got me hooked onto like, what is this? Like, what am I watching? And then later that year, WrestleMania 20, watching the main event of that match and seeing Shawn Michaels doing the moonsault to the outside. That was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. Nowadays we see moonsaults to the outside like every other match.
Yeah.
But like at that time, that was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And it was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. And I remember that was the moment where I was like, I have to be a professional wrestler. And ever since then, I just loved it, and eventually found my way into the business. And here I am, man.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear like people's backstories, especially doing this line of work, where someone's like, I seen it since I was 7, and there was no doubt in my mind that everything I was going to do in my life from this point on was going to be to get to that industry. And then there's some people that I was lifelong fans, but didn't even know I was allowed to do this until much later. Two of them that really stand out is you and Ethan Promise from the Lost Boys. We're like, from a young age, they're like, yo, I'm going to join sports. I'm going to get myself in shape. I'm going to work on theater and acting. Like he like that, all that research was like, this is all for something later. Like I was like, that's commendable. Like, I like that.
Yeah, no, I wish that I understood as a younger kid more about like how much the theater aspect of it would really be, you know what I mean? Because nowadays, like I'm super into, if anything, storytelling in professional wrestling, like overdoing moves and that kind of stuff. I love to tell a story and have fun with it, or make people upset, or whatever the story may be. But if I understood that earlier, then yeah, I probably would have done more acting classes and that stuff, and drama and all that. And it was always suggested to me. My sisters, they all did drama and all that, so like they would always tell me. I have 3 sisters, and they would always tell me to join, because that, if they want to be a wrestler, it would help. And I never understood. I was just like,
yeah,
no, I want to be cool. I want to be a badass. But it is cool. You know what I mean? Like now looking back at it, it is cool and it's fun. And I've gotten to dip into that kind of stuff later on in my time. You know what I mean? So, I really can appreciate it a lot more now.
Yeah. So what did you do growing up? Were you into the sports? Like what kind of kid were you? Where did you fit in your little Breakfast Club group?
I'd say I was kind of a wanderer in a sense, where I kind of fit in with everybody a little bit here and there. And I tried to get along with everybody. As far as sports go, I never really did sports like on like, the high school team or the middle school team or anything like that. I was like, I like to get out there with my friends and get in the sand and just play, tackle football with my friends and not worry about the teams, and just get physical, which was fun, you know what I mean? Or we'd wrestle, you know what I mean, in the sand and crazy stuff like that. And, I always had more fun with that. But I also liked music at the time. So I could play like little bits of instruments. I wasn't like the best guitarist or drummer or whatever. But I used to sing sometimes. So I had a band in middle school, and I had another band in high school. And I had a garage, so we would all get in my garage and just jam. And we had a couple gigs, and that was how I had my fun. But that was also like, looking back at it, a lot of that was theater and a lot of presentation.
Being a front man.
Either when I got into it, I thought I just had to have a good voice, but there was more to it. You have to move and get physical with it too. And, that kind of like was a moment where that kind of popped in my head, like, that there is more to this,
I just interviewed before you, Tyler Reed. He's from the New York scene. He's cousins with Sean Carr up. They wrestle a lot at Excite. He's in a band called Second Suitor, so he does the band and the pro wrestling aspect. Got into wrestling later, but was a front man in a band for a while. And I always joke, like, I want to find more wrestlers who are also musicians and form like that super group of all wrestlers who are like every member of the band is also a pro wrestler.
That would be dope. That would be really cool.
You got like
I
Ultra
was
Mantis and
I was training in Philadelphia for a little bit, and there was this guy. I can't remember his name, but he was a really cool guy, and he was in this band. And it was like they all wore lucha libre masks.
oh, they
And,
just performed at the High Tension show.
okay, perfect. Yeah,
And they do like Spanish, like it's almost all in Spanish too.
possibly. I don't
Yeah.
know much about it. I just know, but he was a really cool guy. Like the only he didn't even really want to be a wrestler. He was actually just there to maybe learn more about it so that he can incorporate it with his shows. And I thought that was really cool, actually.
Yeah. It's crazy because the rest of the band showed up and didn't have masks on and set up the stage. And I was like, well, where's the lead singer? And he showed up later. But when he showed up like Blue Demon, like suit, lucha mask into the venue. Never took the mask off, performed and left. Like I never seen his face. I was like, that is sick. That is commitment right there.
Yeah, that anymore.
Yeah, like the bass player was like, the show's about to start. He's like, oh, the lead singer was the whole time just, and he didn't talk to nobody. Like it was all I forget the name of the band. I'll have to look it up, but they performed at one of the first High Tension no ring shows. They did the pit shows, and that band was like the third or fourth band on the card. So it was like they played and then a wrestling match. So it was really, really cool. That's funny. Yeah.
Are they from the Philly area?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's probably the same band. Yeah.
Yeah. They were really there. It's like a 3-piece. I think it's like guitar, bass, drums. That's it.
That's dope.
Yeah. There might be a fourth. I could be wrong, but so. You know, obviously you said what type of kid and stuff we were growing up, but when did you decide to pursue being a pro wrestler, and how did you get started in that process?
So, that process was not easy because, I mean, kind of like you were saying before, like the first few years of my life, like I didn't even know it was possible to do it. Like I kind of, in my mind, like I kind of thought as a kid that like there were special people that were kind of like picked out and chosen to be professional wrestlers on TV, and those were the only people that got to do it. You kind of almost had to be scouted by another wrestler. That was like what was in my mind. I didn't know about wrestling school. I didn't know about any of that. So later on, I started, obviously learning about wrestling schools and all that kind of stuff. I called the wrestling school when I was like 17. Got to talk to Tommy Cairo on the phone, and then 10 years later, he's the one helping me in the gym now. But that was the first time I ever really talked about it with anybody. I ended up not going at the time because my mom wouldn't sign off on it, which is understandable. She was nervous.
Yeah.
But when I had the chance, I actually was doing a karaoke at a bar, and the person in front of me doing karaoke was 911, Big Al.
Okay.
So
he stands out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So first I'm looking at him and I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, I definitely, this guy looks like a wrestler. I just can't put my finger on it. He comes up to me after he's done singing his song, and I was wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt, and he goes,
real quick, what does 911 sing at a karaoke?
Turn the Page by Bob Seger.
I love it.
Perfectly too. So, and that's one of his go-to songs. I've done karaoke with him plenty of times since. That's one of his go-tos. But anyway, so he comes up to me. I'm wearing the Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt. And he goes, hey, I wrestled that guy. And then he just walks off to the bar, and they call me up to do my song. And now I'm terrified. I'm like, who is this guy? All of a sudden, I hear somebody at a table say 911 as I'm walking up to sing my song. I'm like, oh, my God, that's ECW 911. So after my song, I went over, talked to him for a while. And I have this DVD that's signed by like a whole bunch of ECW originals. And I wanted him to sign it. So I was like, if I come here, next week, would you mind signing the DVD? He said, sure. So I went a week later and he signed it for me. We talked, for a long time. And then I left. I thought maybe I might never see him again. I started doing karaoke at a different bar that was like close to that one. And it ended up being like really close to his house. He was there every week. So I got to see him every week and hang out. And then eventually he opened a wrestling school and asked me about joining. And unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was young, and, just like working at a restaurant that didn't have a lot of business, and it just wasn't great. But I told him, I was honest with him. I said, I'll help out with whatever I can and earn my training. And that's what I did. I just, I would show up and try to sweep the building or film stuff for them or take pictures or hang up flyers and make pamphlets, whatever I could do to.
So you bartered. You're like, hey, I can't afford school, but I'll come and clean the place, whatever you need.
Yeah, exactly.
That's ambition right there. That's
Yeah,
great.
because it was almost like what I was talking about earlier when I was a kid, and I thought that you had to be like handpicked and hand scouted by a wrestler, and here's 911 asking me to join a school,
Yeah.
and it was like it really happened. You know what I mean? Like, so that was that was like the moment where I was like, and in between that time. The reason why I said it wasn't easy was because I was told a lot by a lot of people that it's not going to happen.
Mhm.
And sometimes you let that get to you when people tell you that you can't do it or you're not going to be able to do it. You're not set out for that. You're not the right type of body, blah, 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 whatever it is. You can't listen to that. You have to push through it and you have to make your own path. If you really want this, if it's something that you know that it's the only thing that you want to do in your life, you can't let anybody tell you can't do it without trying it first.
Yeah, absolutely. I just envision karaoke at 911, and then you start stinking, and they want to kick you off, and then they just play his music. He comes up, choke slams you, and then the next person goes up and sings. Like he's like the Apollo, the Showtime of the Apollo chord full.
Yeah.
Just 911 comes up, bang, and then next person. You're like, I'm gonna sing really good.
And then while you're laying there, he just sings "Turn the Page," and then he
Yeah,
falls.
yeah. On a long and lonesome highway. That is the most pro wrestling song too, by the way. It's like that song applies to pro wrestling. Like, is that the same old cliche? Is it a woman or a man? You're like, there's a lot of wrestlers with long hair at a bar that'll probably get mistaken. You know what I mean? such a classic.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah. I want. Does this kid sing? Is this kid a big karaoke guy too?
He's not a big karaoke guy, but I've seen him do it. And he's, one time we went to a bar in Philly. I don't remember where, but we went to this bar in Philly and they were doing karaoke. And Big Vin did Hulk Hogan's theme song, and everybody loved it. It was
Yeah.
so funny. Everybody was laughing and singing along. It was great.
Oh, that's so awesome. 911's a karaoke legend. That's so I love that so much. How were the beginning stages finding your place? You said you're going in your place, you're sweeping up, you're doing everything you have to do. Did you ever overcompensate of because this is probably what I would do is I would probably get not as much training because I would feel like I didn't pay my like I didn't do enough work to actually feel like I always feel like I have to do more to earn something, if that makes sense. Like how did you navigate those early stages?
I mean, I was there like most days out of the week, just doing whatever I had to do. And I mean, any chance that I got to be in the ring, I ate at it. You know what I mean? So it was really just being there for hours and just like just finding that balance. Okay, well, maybe this needs to be cleaned up first before we start. You know what I mean? And at least knowing, okay, I did something. Now let's get something done in the ring. And then the next day, it's kind of the same process. You go in, you do something, you clean this, you clean the bathroom, you clean the gym, because it was like half gym, half wrestling school. So like you just make sure that your area is clean and you make sure that you're working in a good, safe environment. I don't want to go in there and train thinking, oh, this place looks like a dungeon or something like that.
Yeah.
Plus, unfortunately, it didn't get a lot of students. That's why it wasn't open for a long time. But for the other students that were there, personally, now it's like, I feel like I have like a certain obligation. Like, I don't want these people coming in and thinking it's dirty if I'm the one cleaning it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one to deter clients from coming into the business. You know what I mean? So just make sure your area is clean, and any chance you get in the ring.
Yeah. Well, what those also in the beginning stages too, like how was it like adjusting your body to taking the bumps and preparing yourself during those training sessions?
That's like, I mean, sometimes you just don't understand what your body's capable of until you really push those limits. And like, like I said, I would play like tackle football with my friends, and like I've taken a couple shots, but like nothing like taking body slams from Big Vin 50 times in a day. It's crazy. So like we did body slams like over and over again this one day, and I was just like worn out, but I still wanted to learn. So the next day I went right back. We did more body slams. I'm beat up, and now we're doing hip tosses. And I'm like, I mean, this is the first time that my body's like felt like, oh my God, like I don't think I can actually physically continue. And he's trying to give me a hip toss, and I'm just like collapsing. You know what I mean? He brought me up and he chopped me in the chest, and like something about it, my endorphins just started going off, and I ran off the ropes, took the highest hip toss of the night. Like everything, like my body was just like shook. And
Mhm.
like I realized I was like, like I can push myself past what my mind is telling me. Like I might be telling myself like, oh, I'm done. But like, no, I can keep going. Like, you know what
You
I
got
mean?
that one more rep in you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's when I learned about, like, I never knew about that one more rep until that day.
Yeah. A chop from Big Vin will wake you up. A 911 will wake you up for that. You know what I mean?
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
What were some setbacks or adversities you've had to overcome at all in your career?
I mean, a lot of just like I was saying before, a lot of people in the background saying, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, it's not a good idea. When I first started doing it, like I expected to get, calls from my family and friends, like kind of like, oh, congratulations, you're actually doing what you've always wanted to do your whole life. But I was getting calls from my family saying, why are you doing this? This is, you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna this, you're gonna that. It's not a good idea. This person's not happy about it. Well, it's, you know what I mean? Like that was the only reaction that I got. And that was definitely upsetting. You know what I mean? And
It was
like,
from your close peers too. It's not just strangers saying don't do it. It's like
yeah,
people you would want to be supporting you. Yeah.
yeah. And like, something that like maybe, obviously like some of the viewers might not know, my sister, I've, like I mentioned before, three sisters. One of my sisters is a paraplegic. She was in a car accident and she's paralyzed from the waist down.
Mm.
So my mom, I mean, it's scary for her, for
Yeah.
me, and I get that. I can
This is an industry where you're always a centimeter away from being that.
I always say like, like she's probably looking at it like I'm asking for it. You know what I mean? And I can understand that. But now, throughout the time, she's been more understanding about it, and she's seen that it's not just me going out there and trying to get hurt. It's more of a business. And as long as you treat it as a business and you treat your body as the product and you want to keep your body working, you know what I mean? Like there's more to it than just getting beat up is what she realized. And
Yeah.
she's still scared about it. Like, I mean, 2018 was when I started doing shows, and she came to a few shows, and then I told her she doesn't have to come because she wanted to go and support me, but she wasn't watching my matches. She would walk away when my matches would come up, and I told her like like respectfully, somebody else is going to buy that ticket that you bought and is going to enjoy the show, and I don't want you just to be upset and scared the whole time. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
but October 2024, she finally came to see me again at a show, and she had a really good time. And a lot of it was just like it was just fun, just like a lot of gimmicky stuff, and just it wasn't like
You didn't invite your mom to like a death match where you knew
I
you were
was
gonna
about
blade and get to put through a table.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to say like I would invite her to Cage of Death or something like that.
Yeah. You're like, Mom, this is the one. I feel like you're
Yeah.
like, my
Well,
mom's in the row. Gig me.
I'd say so. Like one of the biggest adversities is like showing those people like it's okay. Like you know what I mean. Like I'm gonna do this the right way, and I've also made a promise to myself to try to make sure that I don't take certain risks to make sure that I am safe and make sure that I
Yeah.
can walk in 20 years, and you know what I mean. But other than that, a big piece of it was honestly like joining GTS. GTS Wrestling, for those of you who don't know, it's very popular YouTube show on YouTube. It has over 1 million subscribers. When I joined the show, they were in a warehouse, and when they lost the warehouse, they went to a backyard. And a lot of people, obviously have a bad taste about backyard wrestling. But the thing is that there's a lot of really good performers that go through GTS, and a lot of really good wrestlers and really good talent.
World champs.
World champions, yeah. And like the thing is that like people have to look at it as a YouTube show as opposed to a wrestling show. It's produced as a YouTube show with comedy, with drama, with silliness, with whatever it is. I mean, it's a different type of production than a wrestling show. And the people who don't understand that, who looked at me and said, "Oh, well, he's just a backyard grim guy," who don't understand that I like I said, worked hard and did train and went to training every single week and got my ass kicked by Big Vin. You know what I mean? And then I joined GTS. So
some of my favorite people I've met in this industry are, I would say, GTS guys. Like, I'm gonna be honest, growing up, I never watched it. Like, I've only ever seen realistically 4 or 5 full Grim GTS shows, and one was live because I gave somebody a ride, and I was like, and they're like, this is like huge, like this is the first live show in front of a crowd ever, and I was like, what am I doing here then? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm taking someone's seat. Like, I was like, I have to work, I have to do something, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
a lot of good people come out of there. Like, people I really, really enjoy in this world all came from that program.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's definitely special. You know what I mean? A lot of people watch it, and a lot of people know who I am and who a lot of these people are around the whole world just from that show.
Mhm.
And a lot to thank for it. But like one of those things, those adversities, is that, you know, somebody might look up Tony CHINI on YouTube and see me wrestling in a backyard and say, "Oop, never mind."
Yeah.
That
Another person who falls into that trap too is like you and this person. Three people really come to mind of people that say like, oh, they're just grim backyard guys, but they're all three are insanely talented and good for this business, and I feel get held back a lot. That's you, that's Jay the Key Evans, and Pete Corvus.
Yeah.
If I had money and I ran my own company, you three would be major stars in it. Like, and because of just your good humans and Grim, you learned a lot of cool stuff there, and learn how to develop and do things that make you're TV ready working at Grim, because of you're not just learning the wrestling aspect, you're learning how to present yourself and sell yourself and do that. And a lot of people on the independent scene don't do it as well as you three. And I feel like a lot of times you don't get a lot of that same love and pursuit that I think you guys probably should.
I can agree with that. Absolutely. And
Mhm.
like people don't understand how much of a tool on GTS wrestling can be to your career, because like I
Yeah.
said, so many people see you all over the place. So when you put out merchandise, you know what I mean? Like now so many people, it's going to reach so many more people than just like your local, you know, Ocean County area or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like it's something that like now people see you all over the place. Like I've been out like for motion capture. I had to travel a lot, and like almost everywhere I went, somebody knew who I was.
Yeah.
Uh, I have a really cool story where I was doing motion capture with Vampiro, and we went to, and it was in
Oh,
Boston,
sick.
and we went to a restaurant called Kowloon, which is like a famous spot for like a lot of WWE people go. They have like 8x10s all over the place. John Cena, Stephanie McMahon, you know, everybody's been there. So I'm sitting there, and I've been there a couple times at that point, but I was sitting there with Vampiro and the developer of the wrestling code, and this kid starts walking up to the table, and we're all thinking like, oh, you know, somebody found Vampiro here, you know. He comes up to the table, he says, "Oh my God, it's Tony CHINI."
You're like, what?
Me, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he took a picture with me, and he was like, "I've never thought that I'd meet a GTS wrestler in real life." That's what he said.
And Vampiro sitting right next to you.
And Vampiro sitting right across from me.
That's
Yep.
sick. That's sick.
Yeah. And like that's, you know, like, and obviously that's nothing against Vampiro. He's a legend, you know.
Yeah,
I mean?
he's
But like I'm
amazing.
just saying, that's the reach that GTS wrestling has, is that somebody, you know, a while from here knows who I am, and I'm sitting across from a legend. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
that, really humbling and really cool. You know, so that's something that I have to thank GTS wrestling for.
You can literally be someone who is a 30-year vet on the independent scene, who's wrestled in your 25-mile bubble of your house, who thinks you have done everything you possibly can. Maybe you got a TV appearance once or twice where you were a squash match in the 90s on Monday Night Raw, but you could be someone who wrestles one time on GTS, and that video is seen by more people than a 30-year vet ever got eyes on their entire career.
Absolutely.
That's just a blatant truth of that people kind of overlook when it comes to GTS wrestling. If you look besides now, but YouTube was not a place where people went for wrestling. Like now it's getting popular with the interviews, and WWE's YouTube channels really taking themselves seriously, and TNA is now pushing more towards YouTube. But for a long time, nobody took YouTube seriously from a wrestling standpoint, and Grim was probably getting more eyes on his product on YouTube than some TV companies were.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And
that's a fact. You know what I mean? Like
Grim has showed us the numbers, like the YouTube numbers in the past, and like yeah, his channel has been above, you know, other like WWE stars channels and that type of
yeah.
stuff. Some of like the, not like the WWE itself, but like some of their like other channels and stuff. And yeah, he's right in the mix. You know what I mean? In the top 3, top 5, top 10, whatever that is. You know what I mean? Like I mean, he's all the ways up there, and that's huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, like that. So many people get to see that, and it's a huge tool for sure that people, I don't think, understand how to use that tool.
And GTS fans are vocal I've never been on a GTS camera in my life, but I made a clip on when I was at the live GTS show. I made a couple clips when I was there just to put as shorts or something. And I guess people seen me on the camera and then seen that I was making clips and then seen that I do these interviews and would DM me like, when are you going to be on camera when are you going to GTS? When are you going to be part of? I'm like, I'm not an active member. I gave somebody a ride. I'm just a podcaster. They're like, no, you're friends with Pete Corvus. You know, Tony CHINI, you know, Philly Mike. Like, I was like, I'm just a guy who hung out for a show. Like they're on it. Like the GTS fan base is wild. Like they're unbelievable.
Yeah, and when you talk about GTS names, like you were talking about earlier, Philly Mike's another one that you want to throw in there for sure.
Yeah,
great talent.
Yeah.
And he's such a great personality and everything. You know what I mean? He's something. He's Philly Mike. You know what I mean? Like when you see him, he's undoubtedly Philly Mike.
Yeah, and he hates me, but I respect him as a person in the industry.
Yeah, well, you know, just in general, you know, yeah, sure. Like he knows who his character is, and that's something that's very important.
Absolutely, yeah, and Grimm's another place that gave him a lot of confidence to be that person. When have you ever felt like you hit your peak, or what are some like moments that you have that you're really proud of?
I mean, I don't feel like I've hit my peak yet. I feel like I'm still going. I feel like I'm, still absorbing, and just, hopefully I'll get there eventually, whatever that peak is. I don't know what that peak is going to be for me, but, it's different for everybody. And, I have an idea of what it might be, but it's coming. But anyway, as far as things that I'm proud of, I was talking about the wrestling code earlier, working with people like Vampiro, like Diamond Dallas Page, Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam, Ultimo Dragon. I cried. Ultimo Dragon, Tajiri. You know what I mean? Like all these people that I've gotten to.
Tajiri's my Ultimo Dragon. I love Tajiri.
It's incredible, and he's so funny. Tajiri is a funny guy, man.
I love stories of people saying that they met him and he did the "I don't speak English" bit to them.
Oh my God, so
I love that. I love that so much.
We were at like a convention, and like he was signing autographs, and I was hanging out at his table with him. And this guy comes up, and he's like spilling his heart out to Tajiri. Like, I remember this and that, and this match, and I love this and that. And Tajiri's just, okay, yes. And then just, shakes the guy's hand, takes the picture, guy walks off, he looks back at me, goes, I don't know. It was just so fun. He plays it on everyone. Yeah, he just goes for it. If he knows he can get away with it, he will. It's the
so best. He's the best.
We were walking down the street, and this guy just wanted a cigarette, and he gave this guy a cigarette. He gave him a light, and he, like, the whole weekend he was saying, "Oh, that's my new tag team partner."
Have you ever heard him on commentary when he was on commentary a few times in WWE, and he just kept doing Jim Ross isms to Jim Ross?
I don't think so.
As Tajiri, like, this is a Slavanaka, like barbecue sauce. Like, look it up. It's amazing. Tajiri, there's two wrestlers growing up that I always, people like, who's your favorite? And one because of a moveset, and two because of the personality. Well, they're both movesets are amazing, but the personalities of both of them. I loved to talk Taka Michinoku and Tajiri. Like, like, two of my absolute favorites growing up. And people are like, why? I'm like, they're just entertaining. They're really good.
Oh yeah, they're great wrestlers. And like Tajiri, like as a kid, was somebody, like, everybody, the cruiserweight division, like, I didn't see, like, visibly as a kid a lot of those guys being the world champion, like next to somebody like Batista or Triple H. But I saw Tajiri as somebody that would have a chance. Like, to me, he always looked like that guy that, like, I think he could knock out Batista.
Yeah, if he hits you with that buzzsaw kick, it doesn't matter if you're the Big Show or the Undertaker. He can put you out with it. And if he has the mist, forget about it. Like, he could always pull something out that made him, like, he could be a top guy.
For sure. Yeah, I always had that feeling about him. And with Ultimo Dragon, I cried because when I played my first ever wrestling video game ever, I got SmackDown Here Comes the Pain for the PlayStation 2, and the first character I picked was Ultimo Dragon.
He's in that game?
Yes, he's in that game. And like,
I did not know that.
He had a short stint in the WWE, and it was around that time, so he made it in Here Comes the Pain. And what's it called? So he was like, and I'm just starting to learn about wrestling at this time. So I didn't know every single superstar. So looking at the roster, he just looked the coolest to me. He's this guy, this dragon mask. I'm like, this guy looks awesome. Yep. So I chose him, and I would choose him over and over again. Like, that's kind of how I learned how to play the game. So getting to work with him on a video game, a wrestling video game, years later, that was like such a full circle experience. Like, oh my, this is the first guy I chose ever in a wrestling video game. And here I am creating his moves with him for this wrestling video game. Like, it was just one of those moments. Like, it was so overwhelming. And luckily I started crying afterwards. So
yeah.
he didn't see it, but it was still, it was just like, wow, like, I can't believe this is happening right now.
He was a go-to for me, but I'm going to date myself a little older. Mine was WCW versus NWO World Tour. And he was the character I picked because of the baby blue, the gear, and like his moveset was awesome. Like he's awesome. Such a good, I want to start. I'm starting a little bit of a collection. I'm reliving my childhood. I lost everything in a house fire, so I'm like collecting again. But I want to collect luchador masks, and he's definitely on the list of what I want to collect.
Yeah, he gifted one of his masks to the developer when we did the mocap, and it's in a frame in his house right now. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's super dope. What kind of talked about there? Do you have any other key moments or accomplishments that you've hit so far in your career that really stand out for you?
Just really, just getting as far as I have, in the time that I have is incredible. I've been in the business now for 8 years, and it's not like I'm a contracted wrestler or anything like that, but I've been toe to toe, face to face with so many people that I never thought I'd even get to meet, let alone be in the ring with, and a lot of that has to do with the wrestling code. But also, just being successful on a YouTube show like GTS and being a person that like people know all over the country because of that, and not just in the country but all over the world. That's incredible, and that's a huge accomplishment. But some of the things that I really enjoy doing are using my character and my whatever you want to call it, to do something good for a community. So like last year for 420, we went on this 420 cruise, and we were raising money for this thing called Sister Jean's Kitchen. And in Atlantic City, they help feed people, who need it. And so that's what we were doing. We were raising money, and, I was just there, like, showing people wrestling clips and talking to them and whatever. And then I put somebody through a table at like the after party, and a whole bunch of people came and gave money, and like stuff like that is like, that's the humbling part about this, is to be able to give back to a community. And last year I got to go with Jack Martins to a developmental school with kids with special needs and do field day. And we like ran an obstacle course for the kids and stuff. And like, that's like, I love doing that kind of stuff. It's incredible. Being able to give back to somebody and get that reaction and just, have them have a good time and have them, have fun because of wrestling is huge for me.
Yeah. Sorry, she's writing something on the board. I as we're talking, I got a phone call that we're back to weekend shift. Oh, that sucks. All right. I got the job, but we're working weekends again. So that's day shift weekends. All right. Sorry, that's not part of your interview.
That's okay.
It's exciting, but it sucks because now I'm going to miss another opportunity again. But it is what it is. We need money. All right. Sorry about that. One thing I really enjoy about you as well is the fact that I was telling other content creators I worked with and stuff about you, because they were asking questions and stuff. And I said, my favorite aspect about you is the way you conduct yourself. Like, you're very humble. You're very low key. You're very like, you're not someone who's like a look at me guy, but you easily could be. I think with your accomplishments and what you've done, you have a wealth of knowledge in you. And a lot of it is because you've been put in situations or have gotten yourself into situations where you've rubbed elbows with a lot of people who have done amazing things in this industry. And you're someone who's like a sponge. Like, you're a good conversation and you're a good person. You're a good hang, which is really good for any business. And a lot of people have bestowed a lot of information on you. So like, I always tell people, if Tony CHINI's telling you something that's going to probably help you or see something in you, listen to it, because you've met a lot of people and got an opportunity to pick a lot of people's brain. And I think that's super, like, I think that's another value to you that a lot of people don't see, or I don't know. I hope you see it in yourself, but like, that's a cool accomplishment you have.
I truly appreciate that, man. I like honestly, really, really, truly appreciate that. Somebody looks at me that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really humbling. And I just, there's no point in going, look at me. You know what I mean? I've done all these cool things. That's great. I have that for me. And that's the thing. Like, I love to be able to take that knowledge and help other people. And if I get to see somebody else thrive from something that I told them, little or small or whatever, then that makes me feel great. You know what I mean? I've gotten to help out a couple people as far as getting started in wrestling. Zach Ruby and Jack Martins are two of like the main people that I've gotten to like kind of train and help out, and it's so gratifying to see them get bookings. Like this weekend, they're wrestling on a show against the FBI, and
Nice.
that's really like to see like essentially two of my guys wrestling against Nunzio and the new FBI is just really, really cool.
Nunzio's still killing it. So good.
He is, yeah, he's great. And I've another guy that I've learned a lot from and got not just mocap with, but gotten to see him on other shows, work with him at GTS. And he's always just a great guy. He's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And keeps himself in great shape.
Yeah, a lot of these everyone gravitates to the top guys they see on TV and the people that they're really obsessed with and the people that they're super into. And then I turn around and tell people like, that's great, that's awesome, but like, there's people in this industry like your Nunzios and your Brooklyn Brawlers and these guys that like were never the top guys, but like they did more than just be wrestlers. Like they've done every aspect of the business. Like they're the people you really want to sit down with. You know what I mean? Like there's people like the guys at the top. I'm not saying they didn't do that either, but once you get to the top spot, you're essentially there's a lot of things you don't have to do anymore. And then you have to carry the company on your back, which is a whole nother wealth of knowledge you can pull from. But those guys who do the small things that keep a show going that you don't even realize they're doing, like Billy Kidman, people will be like, well, what did you look at the stat things of like, yeah, he has some championships here and there. He had some good runs, some good moments, but like he didn't have the longevity of insert person here. But like, no, Billy Kidman sat in Gorilla for years and ran TV shows and scouted and like, I love
age. He's still doing.
Yeah, like one of the, I believe too, he's one of the fastest graduates from the Samoan school still. Like I think that was like his thing. But like that's what I'm saying. Like these people, you meet people at cons and you're like, well, what did this guy do? Like, oh, this guy was the guy I didn't even pick in the video game growing up. And I'm like, no, that guy did 15 times more than most people did. You just don't know half of his accomplishments because they didn't happen on a TV camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. A lot of people very valuable to learn from for sure. Like even the Hurricane is back there.
Yeah.
He's back there doing stuff. Kenny Dykstra is back there doing production and stuff. I mean, everybody's going to him and just wealth of knowledge, man. I mean, it's incredible. There's so many people, that you wouldn't even think of that probably know the most.
Gangrel. Like everyone's like the guy who spit blood that had a couple matches here and there. Like, yeah, that guy trained a lot of people too. Very good trainer, very good mind for the business. Like, still very respected at the top of his mind. You know what I mean? Like, love that kind of stuff.
And Iron Mike Sharp.
Yeah, Iron Mike Sharp is another great one. That guy's trained a lot of cool people. Probably has the biggest library of wrestlers under his name. One of the biggest. Yeah. I think it was like him and Vern Gagne are like top two in my brain that like immediately stand out of like people that was produced under that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some influences or role models you have.
So I'm going to start off by saying, my sister is definitely an influence and a role model of mine. She, like I said earlier, she's a paraplegic. But the thing is that she never let that stop her. She lives back and forth in LA and New Jersey. She does acting. She's been in several movies. She's going to be in Freaky Friday 2 coming out. She has been somebody who has never let her disability stop her. And because of that, I gravitated towards somebody who I've actually gotten to work with now during the Wrestling Code, Zach Gowen, who is incredible. I mean, he has one leg and made it to the WWE, still wrestles, right now, currently one of the most sought after public speakers in the country, and is just an incredible person. I mean, always so positive and just so, just nice and giving. great, phenomenal wrestler. You know, to get to work with him, to get to see him work in person, like to be in the ring with him is like a whole nother animal. I mean, he is just incredible.
Yeah.
And if like, I always thought to myself, like, you know, all these people telling me like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, blah, 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 this, that. Just imagine if somebody tried to tell him that he can't do something. You know what I mean? That guy,
Yeah.
like, who went out there and does moonsaults. He was doing, when we were doing the wrestling code, he was doing standing moonsaults. I don't even think he's done that on TV before, but yeah, he was doing literally just
That's crazy.
moonsaults. Like, I can't even do that. And you know what I mean? Like that is incredible. You know, so like seeing,
He's a very iconic moment in WWE too. Like only there for a short time, but people still talk about it to this day.
yeah,
Like him and the Brock stuff, like incredible.
yeah. And like, you know, like seeing people like that who go out there, like that's what really gives me motivation to be like, if they can do it, I can definitely try.
Yeah, absolutely. Some hobby, you know, we talked about music a little bit and stuff like that, but what are some hobbies and interests you have outside your industry? So you're not helping in the industry, you're not watching wrestling. Like wrestling takes up a lot of all of our time because we tape study or watch or try to follow the product as well as being part of the product. What do you do to unwind to collect yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like I know it has to do with wrestling as well, but like wrestling video games, I also love. I like, you know, even before doing the wrestling code, has always loved and collected wrestling video games. I also like a lot of other video games. You know, I'm not like a huge gamer. I've never been like too much of an online gamer. Like I'm just kind of like a, you know, pick up and play. You know, like old school games, that type of stuff. I just recently started like getting some games on my Wii and stuff, and like I just got Star Wars Force Unleashed. If you've ever played that,
Okay. Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
great game. But yeah, other than that, I like to go to the flea market and look around and like find cool stuff. And I just recently found a Macho Man Slim Jim holder.
Which
Uh,
one?
it was the newer one, unfortunately. I want to find a vintage one, but I think
There's three. There's three that are awesome. There's the red one where it says Macho on his hat. I think it says Macho on his hat, like the old school one. It's just red with just his bust. Then there's one, the second one, I think it's like him kind of posing, and the new one where he's like really posing and it's super 3D dimensional. Like someone robbed. We talked about it in our one episode. Someone robbed a gas station around here. Like came in and robbed it. Didn't take any money. Didn't even take the Slim Jims. Just took them. Like they came in with a mask and took the Macho Man Slim Jim thing.
oh my,
Yeah.
hopefully that's not the one I bought.
It might be. Who knows? They're all over eBay. You have to pay like $200 for them, but they're amazing. I want one so bad.
I was able to get it. I think I paid $50 for it at the flea
That's
market.
awesome. That's a steal. That's a
Yeah.
steal.
And then I found actually right behind me there is a vintage Diamond Dallas Page shirt with the tag still on it.
Wow.
Found
What's
that
the belt next to it?
What's that?
Is that a belt next to you?
What, this over here?
Yeah.
That's a like a handheld, like a Tiger handheld, but it's really weird actually because it's like, I guess it's like an off-brand, and it has like
Okay.
this weird picture of Greg the Hammer Valentine like in like a headlock. And
What
it's
does
like
it say? Just WF?
yeah, and it's just like from some random indie show. So that's funny.
That's awesome. What is wrestling video game wise? I have a pretty decent collection myself. I have all the SmackDowns. They're from SmackDown 2, all through the SmackDown versus Raws. The Here Comes the Pain, Just Bring It. I don't have. There's certain games I won't collect. Like if it wasn't made before SmackDown by THQ, I won't buy it. Like I'm not buying the Nitros. I'm not buying the Raws Wars. Like they were garbage. I hated those games. They were the worst. I'm more of a THQ Nordic guy. Like my WCW NWOs, WrestleMania, No Mercies. But I have the two game. There's either 2 or 3 I have, but they're the same company versions of those games, like No Mercy, WCW, but they're the Japanese versions.
Yeah, Virtual Pro.
The virtual, I think there's 3 or 4 of them. I have them all. I literally took it as my N64, took it apart, cut the notches off so they fit in so I could play it, but I have no idea what I'm doing with it because it's all in Japanese. I would love to find an emulator where you could play it, but you can see what's on the screen.
I actually have that on my laptop.
Do you really? We need to link up. You need to help me figure that out.
I can help you with that for sure. There's also some people that like put them on cartridges that you can play on your N64, like the American modded English versions.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
I will buy that in a heartbeat. I need that.
I'll send you some links for
I
sure.
heard the creation stuff in that game is unbelievable. Like, there's a lot of really cool features in that like people are like, why weren't these in the American? But I can't navigate it because I have no idea what I'm looking at.
So I have some Japanese import PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, and they were hard to navigate at first. But what I did was on my camera on my phone, I put Google Translate.
Yeah.
And you can like show it to the screen, and it will show you what the options are and what it's saying. So it's a little
man.
time-consuming, but if you like for each screen, if you put the camera on there and show it, then it will show you what it says.
Yeah. What are your let's just go with like a Mount Rushmore. I'll give you a Mount Rushmore of your favorite wrestling video games.
Well, definitely SmackDown Here Comes the Pain is number one for me, just for the nostalgia.
So many hours in that.
A lot of people also say that it's their number one. It's sometimes number two behind No Mercy.
Yep.
No Mercy is not one that I grew up playing. It's one that I started playing a few years ago. But it is a really good game.
There's people who mod that too and put the active rosters on. Like, I've seen someone who takes No Mercy and put all of Lucha Underground in it and stuff. I'm like, I need to learn how to download and play that because that'd be sick.
There's crazy stuff out there. I just started dabbling in the world of downloading stuff like that, and there's some. I have I found this one. It was like SmackDown 2 Know Your Role, but it was all reskinned to be ECW, and it's like insane.
See, Here Comes the Pain was the first game that we went out and bought because I was friends with this family, and there was like 9 of them. There's a big family, and they all were gamers, and so they were the first family I met that had the port where you plug in that you could put you could play with all 8 people at one time. That's a whole nother experience when you're playing like Here Comes the Pain and every person in the room is playing at the same time, like 8 people. Like, most times you only get the 2, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, 4-player PlayStation was not that. We did all 8 on a very consistent basis and had our own storylines. Oh my God. It was fucking awesome.
The season mode in Here Comes the Pain has always been my favorite.
We were convinced that we were being spied on by WWE because my one friend used to love playing his Kurt Angle, and then me and my friend were both Tonys. He's white, I'm black. We made our own characters of ourselves, and we made ourselves like Kurt Angle's cronies so we can play with him as a trio team. And then we made our characters head shaved because he got his head shaved, so we shaved ours, and we had our own Team Angle, and we looked like Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. And then like 3 weeks later they became a thing on TV. We're like, they stole it. We were Team Angle first. We had it in the video game.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You're following the cause where you went online and got like the full like go to 67 degrees here, 20 here, and that's how you make this character, and you would be there for 4 hours doing the moves and how to make it look perfect. Like, now you just go and just download it online, download the Creation Center.
Insane, dude. I used to spend hours making people to make my roster better and stuff. And
never play a match, just creation the whole time.
Yeah, now you can literally just download anybody. It's
yeah. I love it. The old school one. So Here Comes the Pain, your one.
Yeah, Here Comes the Pain is definitely number one. I really like the Day of Reckoning games. I'm gonna if I can, I'm gonna put both of them in number 2.
Yeah.
Really
the GameCube ones, right?
Yeah. Those are
hit detection. You could suplex them into a pin and break up the pin.
Yeah,
best.
I really like King of Colosseum 2, which is a great game. It's a Japanese game for PlayStation 2. It's phenomenal. Like, the gameplay is just it's just very different. You know what I mean? Like, it's different than anything you'll play, like American made. And man, that number 4 spot's tough. I'm gonna go a little bit outside the box though and say Nacho Libre for the Nintendo DS. And it might not be considered a wrestling game. I consider it a wrestling game. You still play wrestling matches in it, but you also have a lot of fun because you get to play little missions from the movie. So you have to go and climb the mountain and get the eagle egg, and you have to slingshot the watermelons and nacho and stuff like that. So it's fun. It's a really cool game.
I love that.
I didn't know if I'd like it or not, and then I ended up I spent a whole plane ride playing it, and I beat the game, and I was like, this was awesome.
I also was a huge fan of the WWE All-Star game where they were insanely fakely jacked and like they would just like it was so unrealistic. They tried to do it again with Battlegrounds, but it didn't have the same vibe. Like Battlegrounds was a lot of fun though. But All-Stars was so slept on.
Yeah, All Stars is a phenomenal game. Yeah, that would be up there with them for sure. That's a great. I had a lot of fun playing that game. I still do. I just recently they came out with like a brawl stick for it. It was like like an arcade style brawl stick, and I couldn't find it for years. I found it on Facebook Marketplace recently, and I picked it up. I'm so happy to have it. It's
There's a guy who makes content. He does like video game reviews and other reviews. It's like Asian dude with like long black hair, and he did this one video about virtual pro for the Game Boy or something, where it's like fake Ric Flair. But he goes, "Did you ever hear the story of that game? Like the storyline?"
No.
So in the game, Ric Flair is like a different name, but it's clearly Ric Flair, and he's your trainer, and then he kills your trainer or something like that, and then steals your girl, and then you fight back to get the world championship, and then through this whole moment you win the championship. Trigger warning for people here at the end, but at the end of the game you win the championship, and they just show like a Game Boy now, a shot of like a house with like a car parked in the driveway, and you're just like looking at the house, and it's like somber music, and all you hear is at a flash in the window. You literally kill yourself because you've lost everything in your life. And the guy's like, what kind of wrestling video game is this? He's like, this whole game, Ric Flair is destroying your life. He's just everything. And you finally win the world championship, get to the end of the game, and your guy offs himself. He's like, who made this game and who hurt you? You should look it up. It's the craziest video game story. It's almost as crazy as the old WWF Mortal Kombat game where they had like the stories of what happened after you win, and like Bam Bam Bigelow kills everyone in the audience, lights them on fire type deals. Yeah, like they don't show it, but they have like a thing you read of like what happens. Like Shawn Michaels was sexually assaulted to death by women who were ravaging him because he was the sexy boy. It's like, who wrote these? Like yeah, that's bad, crazy wrestling video game stuff.
I have to look up that Game Boy one. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's crazy. So fucking fun. If I find the link, I'll send it to you. It's one of the fun. The guy who, the way he does his content and he narrates, he's so fucking good. I will find it and send it to you, but it's crazy. Just the way he does it. He's like, what? Yeah, so funny. Words of encouragement for a beginner or anyone trying to chase their dreams.
Well, I mentioned it earlier, and I'll say it again. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. You know what I mean? People are going to be in the background. They're going to tell you can't do this, you can't do that. They might think that, but that's for you to decide. You know what I mean? They're projecting. Exactly. Go out there, try. That's the biggest thing. Go out there and try. And when you fail, get up and try again. Because I said when you fail. I didn't say if. You're going to fail. There's going to be certain things that you're not going to get it at first. It's going to take a while. Like I go and I see kids training at schools for the first time, and they hit a back roll in like a couple seconds. It took me weeks to do a back roll, which is essentially a very easy thing to do. Now I could do it, with my eyes closed, whatever. But like it took me weeks to figure out how to do it. There's just certain times and certain people that it might take a little bit longer to learn things, whether it be in wrestling or anything in life, but just keep going. And keep consistent at it. And if you really want it, you're going to get it.
Yeah. Every success story is someone standing on the mountain of all of their failures. And they're still not done adding failures underneath their feet. That's just the story of it. You have like no one just comes in and kills it at first. Like even the greats all failed. Michael Jordan did not make his high school basketball team. You know what I mean? Like it's the truth. So I love that. That's great. What are you grateful for? And are you currently happy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for my, life, my health, my fiance.
She's amazing, by the way. I love her to death.
Shout out to Francesca, Katrina, however you know her. Just huge shout out. She's always been there for me. Doing wrestling is not easy. Dating a wrestler is not easy all the time. You have to go out. You have to sacrifice a lot of hours for work. There's a lot of sacrifice to it.
Do you think it's easier dating someone in the business than trying to date someone who's doesn't understand the grind?
I think that it would be tough. I think that if God forbid if I had to date somebody who was not in the business and didn't understand the business, it would be very tough, and there would be a lot of. And I've seen it from other people, from fellow wrestlers that get, they get a girlfriend. The girlfriend, doesn't understand that it's not just like this fun thing you do once a month. Sometimes, like, there's a lot more that's invested in it. And sometimes it's hard to divide that time, and people will choose one way or the other. You know what I mean? So I think it is easier to have, somebody that's in the business for sure. But at the same time, it also makes its own issues to have somebody in the business. You know what I mean? You're always scared that something's going to happen, or, she got injured last year. She broke her ankle, and, like, as somebody, I got her into the business. So seeing that, for me, that makes me feel horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want her to get hurt, but it's part of what we do. Unfortunately, that's what I didn't get her into, trampolining. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got her into wrestling. So yeah, you're going to get slammed sometimes and it's going to hurt. But just like she was there for me when I got hurt, it's the same thing. I'm just there for her when she gets hurt, and we're always there for each other. When I proposed to her, I said I want her to be my permanent tag team partner.
I love that.
That's what it is. We're really, like, legitimately tag team partners all the time.
We got to get you guys a couple of belts made. I mean, not to like bring on the scene, just to have you guys have that's your wedding or your engagement, like, tag team championships instead of wedding rings.
Yeah, I really do. I want to actually get replicas made of the old GTS tag team championships, because
that'd be cool.
That was the first one.
This is my tag team belt. I had me and my podcast partner have. I'm a golden age guy, so I have the old IC Winged Eagles eventually coming, but I have the.
Oh wow, that's really nice.
With the tornado tag with us on the side plates.
Hell yeah, dude. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Is that
Rudy Entertainment?
I was about to say that's from your sponsor here. Rudy.
Yeah, and that the weight on those, I mean, you've seen the Intercontinental one at the High Tension show. Sometimes I walk in and that my belt's nicer than the promotions I'm at.
For sure.
Yeah. Where can people find and support you?
Oh yeah, there was one part of that question I didn't answer.
Yeah, please.
Am
Yeah.
I happy?
Yes.
And something that I like to say to people is, everybody's gonna have their ups and downs. You know what I mean? Everybody's gonna have a day where, maybe they feel like they're just getting dragged in the mud, or, nothing can be right. But at the end of the day, you wake up and you have a chance. Every single day that you wake up, that is a chance to make things better. So at the end of the day, try to go to sleep with a smile on your face and be happy, and know that, okay, well, tomorrow I'm just going to keep trying.
Yeah. I love you to death, man. You're always a good talk. I even in moments where I'm pissed and I'm mad or I'm upset and I get my own feels, and like you're at a show and I chat with you, I'm like, I need to just fucking calm down. Like, this guy's been through it, and you're just a very positive person, and you balance me out. I need you around more.
Oh yeah, well,
I get a little nutty, and I have to have that person next to me who's just like, yeah, man, it could be worse. Like, it could be a lot worse. And I'm like, you're right. I'm gonna chill out a little bit here.
I've told you off camera, and I mean it, dude. You can hit me up anytime, man.
I know, and I definitely know that you're someone who's not just saying it to say it, and I truly appreciate that. You're a great fucking human. I'm always rooting for you. You're just a good person. More people need to be booking you and having you a part of their shows. Listen, will you be known as the world champ anywhere or TV or not? No, who knows? But like how we talked about the Billy Kidmans of the world and the people who have done so many cool things, but you're someone who can help uplift people and help them better and help things around them be better. You're that guy. Like, as soon as you walk into a room, you instantly try to find how to uplift everyone around you and make that a better environment. And that's a quality that a lot of people in this business don't have, because a lot of people are self-centered.
I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. That's, I don't ever look to be recognized in that way or anything like that. I just want to do it because it's the right thing to do. Yeah. But I appreciate being recognized for it. Yeah,
that's 100% just you in a nutshell. And I think I'm probably not the only one who feels that way. You're a great fucking human. I love you to death, man. I want nothing but the best for you. Please, thank you everyone who made it this far. That's going to do it here for the ABJ podcast. Make sure you hit the links below and subscribe and follow myself and my guests on all social media. Grab that merchandise, grab those t-shirts, do everything you got to do. Actually, I have one more thing. We're in February still. It's still early in the year. Who's your work list? What are some goals you have for 2025 when it comes to working with people, building a storyline with, or something, or companies you want to be with? Let's speak things into existence.
Yeah, I've been working with at GTS again a lot more frequently, and I'm working with this guy named Ice-T Curtis there. And we might have our differences. He might think he's a CHINI, and he's not a CHINI, but at the end of the day, he is a good worker, and I really appreciate working with him. And I definitely want to do more work with him. And on top of that, over at Titan Championship Wrestling is another place that I've been doing a lot of work with. And I've been trying to get up it, and I love working with Jack Martins as of recent. I'm really proud of him. But I definitely want to bring it to the top. I want to work with PJ Savage. Get my
love that guy
title around my waist. Show everybody why Tony CHINI's the man.
Yeah. I need you, Tony, and I need Tony, Pete, and Jay Evans in the trios, and just go take over everything.
Let's do it.
All right, that'll do it for us. We'll see you guys next time. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. We'll see you next time.